Serious, what's something America genuinely does better than most other countries? Aircraft carriers. National parks. For me personally, variety of landscapes. You can see just about every biome in the US, from desert to tundra to rainforest to Great Plains to Great Lakes. Entertainment. Especially movies. Definitely burgers. I live in the UK and been to America twice, both times to Florida, and personally I find that waiters in restaurant are miles better than in any other county I have been to. They go out of their way to make you experience of the restaurant good as possible. Americans are very serious about being very funny. It's amazing how the guy who tells the funniest joke is always the most liked and respected, and so much about their social scene is trying to get others to laugh. The research institutions have been the best in the world since around the 1930s. I don't think there are any other countries with such a large number of high-quality research institutions. 500-plus horsepower cars for $30K. My friend bought a supercharged V8 Camaro for 20 grand off of Craigslist. Basketball. The US men's basketball team is arguably the most dominant team in any sport in the world. Shipping. From things like Amazon having 2-hour shipping in major cities to being able to get practically anything in a day, the ease of just getting things delivered in the US is the best out of any country I've been to. Of course, this varies depending on where in the country you are, but for the vast majority of Americans you can get basically anything extremely quickly. Wildlife management. Somehow America stumbled onto an amazingly effective system of funding wildlife management through the sale of ammo and firearms. It is the most effective system in the world. It has managed to bring back many populations of wildlife that were on the brink of extinction. Elk is maybe the most dramatic story of all. They were nearly extinct in most of their home range. Now there are huntable populations all over the country. It really is true that hunters are the reason that American wildlife is so abundant and healthy. A lot of people rag on our hospitals, and rightly so, but we make so many medical advancements compared to other countries, it's insane. And then we can't afford them. American libraries are very underrated in my opinion. Convenience. It for sure about the rest of the world, but from what I read, America is one of the best at convenience. We have 24-hour stores and pharmacies and convenience stores. Fast food places basically every corner, not a good thing necessarily, but I'm talking about convenience, not health. 24 to 48-hour shipping. Public restrooms and water fountains that you don't have to pay for, and also free refills in Walmart and Target are also examples of convenience, as at least where I am they're open pretty late and they're widespread. I could go on and on. Accessibility for the handicapped. The ADA has put us miles ahead of even most developed countries from a handicapped perspective. Going to space. Inventing forms of popular music, jazz, ragtime, blues, rock and roll, soul, disco, hip-hop. The organization of traffic through cities is probably what I love most about living here. After living in a few other large cities outside the US, I realized how much I appreciate an organized layout of streets. So I guess thanks for the infrastructure, America. Startups. Think about companies that were started in garages or dorm rooms by people who couldn't afford to rent actual office space anywhere and now are household names. It's not that Americans are smarter than Europeans or Asians or people anywhere else. I think there's something about the American drive to ignore rules and color outside the lines, which explains why, even though IBM had staggering piles of money and expertise, the next generation of computer in the 1970s came out of a garage and was made by two guys named Steve. Assisting with natural disasters. America is usually the first to show up and most generous when helping other countries who are devastated by disasters. The American military is top-notch. Free speech. The First Amendment is one of the strongest legal protections on speech anywhere in the world. Being resilient. I have always admired about the US how it has been able to overcome obstacles and misdirections in history without breaking apart. The country has survived the slavery tensions, the Prohibition, the McCarthy era, the civil rights struggles, the Vietnam War, Hillary, J.K., and thus I'm confident it will eventually also overcome its current obstacles like corruption in politics, the growing wealth inequality, or how to properly address the major attitude issues of certain members of its police force. We have pretty good rest stops along the highways. Prob, BBQ. Although I'm sure that gap is closing. Cultural diversity, and I don't mean in terms of ancestry from other countries. Just consider places like Chicago, Nick, Dallas, etc. or a small town in the Midwest versus in the South. There's sizable differences in the different foods people are accustomed to eating, the way they hold conversations, the differences in slang, or how the communities work together. Not to say we're the best, countries like China and India see this so much more, but on the scope of things, I'd say we're likely better than most. IMO. Mate cars that go fast in a straight line. Quite a lot of things. The attitude of the people. They are fairly confident, friendly, and often supportive of your ideas, even some of the crazy ones. Random conversations with a variety of people. It was fun just to go out to bars and casually talk to strangers. Willingness to try new things. Big thinking. Innovation. Welcoming foreigners, usually, to come and be citizens with them. Freedom from old ways of thinking and traditions. Interstates, cheap gasoline, so much space and variety of scenery. And for all the shit it gets, the government is structured in a pretty good way. Some random politician having a bad day can't usually just ram through some shitty law because they feel like it. There's actually debate and opposition to stuff instead of just a bunch of politicians who all think the same way agreeing on something they think is a good idea instead of discussing it. Chicken wings. We have most of the world beat by a mile when it comes to chicken wings. Guns. We dominate guns. Seriously, we have some of the highest gun ownership in the world. Man, I love freedom. Going for the weird one, but we're as a general group a lot better at airing out our problems and discussing them as a nation than most I've been to and seen. Western Europe, couple of Eastern European countries, parts of South and East Asia, Australia, everything from mental health, to racism, to public issues, to discussing personal problem. It seems like we're in a huge screaming slap fight almost constantly, but we're actually airing out our problems instead of trying to push them under the rug and occasionally making progress. Software. Winning Olympic medals. Rollercoasters from Canada and ours are trash compared to yours. First time ever passing out on one was in King's Dominion by Richmond, Virginia on the Dominator. Never felt so much adrenaline. Putting people on the moon. America has the best sandwiches and best variety of sandwiches. As long as you're not in a crazy huge city, honestly traffic. Our roads have distinct rules that are typically almost always followed. I watch videos of drivers in other countries and it terrifies me. Assimilation. Refugees and immigrants typically adjust to life much better here than just about anywhere else. Tons of reasons for this, but existing communities support, and you're allowed to retain your cultural identity without stigma, in general. There is a possibility the United States could stand off an invasion from the entire world if they all teamed up. The geographical barriers prevent land invasions, the size of the US Navy is massive, and the size of the Air Force equipped with modern technology would make an air invasion difficult. Also, we could arm every citizen within a couple days. In the end, the US could prevent enough of the billions of invading people from reaching the US that it could ultimately win. Transportation of goods. Between our railroad system and the interstate system, it is insane how quickly we can move goods across the country. Having access to hundreds thousands of books in a few days' notice through public libraries. I can request almost any book DVD and be able to check it out in less than a week, unless new and very popular. Still, free access to all of this literature is great. America's military makes everybody else's look like amateurs. According to Neil Stephenson in Snow Crash. Pizza delivery, software, and entertainment. Porn, it always seems to have higher quality or just more in-depth stories than almost any that's from other countries. The other countries always rush into it, while we are able to get a good 10 minutes of build-up.